What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Isaiah Smith, and I want to say thank you for tuning in to Insights with Isaiah Show. We got a great show planned for you all, and I hope you all are ready to get into it. Without further ado, let's get into the show. As y'all know, I usually start off with insightful quotes, and then I go into that to Isaiah M, and I do my Isaiah's Insight. But guess what? This show is a little bit different because I'm going to be sharing my experience with you in Brazil. That's right, Brazil. I was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil the other week because I did study abroad. I've never gone out of the country, and I said, hey, this will be a chance for me to go out of the country and experience what life is like outside of the U.S. I still remember having another chance to go outside of the country, maybe going into this year of ninth grade, where I would go to Europe for 3 weeks. And it was a part of a fine arts camp called Blue Lake International, because you had the camp within the States, but you also had the camp in Europe, which would be for 3 weeks, and you would have to learn the language before going. While you were there, you would do your major, because the camp in the States had a major, which was mandatory, as well as a minor, which was optional. And I usually did a major and a minor. And I remember I would have had to go to Europe for 3 weeks, as I stated before, do my major, which was choir, and my minor, which was acting, and stay in the family's home of that country, eat their food. And I remember thinking, well, I don't want to be away from my family. That's a long time. I had been away from my family in the States. I had just never been away from my family outside of the States. So I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to try it. And I did not go. When the opportunity came from around again for me to go out of the country, I said, hey, let me take advantage of it. So that's why I chose to go to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So one of the first things I want to talk about, or the first thing I want to talk about, I should say, is my time at the fair. Now, you might be thinking the fair is this carnival, this rides, roller coasters, those sorts of things. But the fair is actually called a flea market. So our tour guides, which were Deborah and Isabel, they called it the fair, and we went, and they had different things like clothes, hats, all sorts of stuff. And we were in groups of 2, groups of 3. And I was with my guy, Jerron, which was another student who went. And we were walking around. We were trying to figure out what we want to buy. And I'm saying, okay, I want to buy this, but it's pricey. I want to buy that. That's outside of my price range. And let me insert this in here. Their currency is more expensive. So 1 USD is 5 reais. Reais is spelled R-A-E-S, right? So think about it. Something that's 25 reais will be $5 here in the United States. So I'm looking around, and I see this chain for 35 reais, which, if I'm not mistaken, that would be 7 USD dollars. I would have to do the math. And I'm like, well, I want to be able to pay less, because I'm thinking about how much money I had with me. And I was able to, in Portuguese, ask the guy who was selling the chains, can I get it for a lower price? So he ended up charging me 25 reais for it. And this is the chain I got. As y'all can see, it's really beautiful. I think it's a cross at the bottom. Looks like the Christ the Redeemer statue, which is another place that we visit, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to put it on and wear it the rest of the show. It's definitely something I wanted to keep. It's definitely something I want to have, because the truth be told, I've never had a chain. You would think for someone who's 23, they will already have a chain. If I can get this off the loop, there we go. I told myself I'll be able to do this before the show, right? And I'm getting it. There we go. There's a scripture in the Bible, Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I told myself I could, and I would. But I bought this chain. I loved it. And that was our time at the fair. So when we come back right back, we'll have more with the show. Welcome back, everybody. Now I want to talk about visiting Christ the Redeemer statue. Christ the Redeemer statue is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and I want to say it's about 90 feet tall. What was interesting is we went on a Thursday, and I remember just thinking it would be much bigger than what I've seen on TV. When we got there, we had to go up a mountain, and there was a long line because you have to get tickets. So our tour guide bought the tickets for us. We took a photo as a group because at a lot of those places, when you do different activities, they'll have you take a picture as a group and you can purchase your ticket, or I'm sorry, your photo afterwards. We take the photo, we get in line because you had to get in line to take one of the shuttles, and they actually took you up to where the statue was. We're waiting in line, which was maybe about 10 minutes. We get on one of the vans, I should say, and we go up to where the statue is, and we had to walk up some steps, and there was the statue. Thankfully, it was sunny, but we were above the clouds. We were actually going through the clouds when we were walking up the stairs, and from there, we were able to see pretty much all of Rio. I ended up seeing the soccer stadium, so many things. Downtown Rio. It was really beautiful, and I really enjoyed the statue. As y'all know, I'm a Christian, and all things concerning Christ, all things concerning God, Christianity, I really enjoy. And so it was a beautiful thing to see. I ended up recording my time there, and that was one of the, I guess, architects I recorded. I took pictures. It was really beautiful. This lady, she actually had a wedding dress on. Now, I don't know if she was getting married or if she had already gotten married, but she did have a wedding dress on, and it was a good amount of people. So I really enjoyed my time there, and it was just amazing to see so many people wanting to see a statue of Christ. I mean, Christ died for the sins of the world, not just for those who would come to know him, but for everybody, those who were before him, those who were during his time, and those after him, like me. So I was very appreciative for that, and it was always something I wanted to see. So yeah, when we come back, I'll tell you more about my time in Brazil. And we're back. Now, I want to talk about my time zip lining, tree walking, and wall climbing. I've wall climbed before, but I was not hesitant this time. So wall climbing, you had a hard part in the middle, then you had the medium part on the right, and the easy part was on the left. So there was our group, and then there was another group, and we had to wait for the other group to come up to the wall. And the people that worked there, one of the guys had said, who wants to go first? So one of the girls from my group, whose name is Cameron, she went first, and then I was second. So she was doing the easy part, and I was doing the medium part. Normally, I would do something that's easy, but I said, hey, I want to challenge myself. I did the medium part. It only took me one try. I rung the bell, and I was happy. And then I was let back down, and this tour guide, one of our tour guides, Deborah, who I mentioned, she did the hard part. She got it on her first try and was able to ring the bell. Then my boy Jerron, who I mentioned, he did the hard part, and he was the first student to do it, and he rung the bell. So I said, let me do the hard part. I got in there, did the hard part, and there was this yellow brick part in the hard part, and you would have to come under then on the side of it. And I remember going under it, and I'm struggling to get up, and I couldn't do it, so I had them let me back down. Then a few minutes later, I said, you know what? I'm going to try again. So I got to that part, and Deborah, she told me to put my left foot on the big rock. I'm going to have y'all take a look at this video.
Isaiah, on your left, the big one over here. Yeah. No. Now you push with your arms. Now use your arms. Hey!
So as y'all can see, I was able to get my left foot on the big rock and I was able to continue climbing and I was able to reach the bell. And you know what I learned from that, y'all? Sometimes you just have to try again. Literally, the old Isaiah would have said, nope, I'm not doing this again. This was hard. But because I challenged myself and I did it a second time, I was able to ring the bell. And I just want to encourage somebody out there. You might have a hard thing in front of you. You might be in school like me. You might be working a job and you have a task on your job that seems impossible to complete. But just know with God, you can do it. So I said, God, you're with me and I can do this. And that was so much fun. Then we moved on to tree walking. If y'all have ever done tree walking, it can be nerve-wracking because we had to balance on a rope. There were 6 parts to it. And I remember the first part, it was like this, I don't know how to explain it, but we were walking and we're having to hold on to the rails. That wasn't bad. But then as I got to several different parts later on, it was more scary because we were having to balance on a rope. I remember maybe the third part, we were having to walk sideways where we're holding to a rope up top. Our feet are on the bottom rope and the harness is attached to the rope up top. So we're walking sideways and we couldn't take our hands off the rope, right? I get to one part on the rope where I'm literally wobbling, going like this, and there having to be a tree in front of me. So I said, huh, right? And I'm like, oh my God, y'all. And one of the girls, Cameron, who I said went first on the wall climbing, said, Isaiah, just keep walking. And she said, don't take your hands off because I put my hand on the tree in front of me. And I literally was just standing there going back and forth like that. So then I just started walking and I made it through. And then I got to another part where I was like, okay, God, I need you. This is where having faith in God kicks in because I'm having to literally depend on him to get me through. So I got to this one part and I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do that. So I'm saying, God, help me, or I trust you, God. I trust you, God. I trust you, God. So I got to the end of that part. Then the last part, I literally quoted a scripture that says, walk by faith and not by sight. Walk by faith and not by sight. Walk by faith and not by sight. And I remember hearing my teacher, Dr. Kodo, shout out to her. She said, oh, Isaiah's walking fast. But what she did not know, it was really God helping me. So that was so much fun. It got me out of my comfort zone and it taught me to trust in God at all times. Then we got to the last part of that place, which was the zip lining. So one of the workers, he had to go first to be able to receive us at the other end of it. And then our tour guide went first. And then I was the first student of our group to go first. And I went, it was cool. Now, I will say when I was about to approach the other side, I felt like I was going to collapse, but I slowed down, or the guy was able to do something where I slowed down just in time. It was really fun. I got to see the rest of my group go, and I really just had a great time. So if you're ever in Rio de Janeiro, please make sure you do zip lining, tree walking, and wall climbing. When we come back, I'll tell you more about my trip in Brazil. And we're back, guys. So I want to tell y'all about something popular in Rio called the Carnival. The Carnival is this 2-week festival. It usually takes place at the end of February, where all these people come together to watch this parade. It's really a big parade, and you have different people that do samba dancing. So samba dancing is very big in Rio, and there are different samba schools where they participate at Carnival, and there are judges who are watching them do the samba dancing, and whoever does the best samba dance wins. And so we ended up going to the warehouse where they make all the floats for the Carnival as well as the costumes. And it was really interesting to see the different floats. We watched a video on how the Carnival got started, history of the Carnival, where it is today, and we learned about the lady that started Carnival, which was a black lady, and it was really cool to learn all of this. We got to one part in the And so let me add this. In the warehouse, we had a tour guy and he gave us a tour of the whole warehouse and explained Carnival. We got to one part in the tour where there was a man and a woman who worked there, and we were in this room with two curtains. So the guy or the man was on the right and the woman was on the left. Behind each of them was a curtain. So our tour guide said, I need y'all to get excited. I need y'all to get excited. So we're getting excited, and he counts down from 3. He says 3, 2, 1, and they both opened the curtains and they told us to come forth. And they did like this because they speak Portuguese. One thing I learned while in Brazil was that 90% of the people there speak Portuguese. So very few speak English. It was my responsibility to be able to learn some Portuguese while I was there so I can be able to speak to the people that were there. They call us up and they choose a costume for us. So I wore like this, almost like Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it was a hat, but it had feathers to the side. It was a nice costume. The only thing was it was heavy on my head because of those feathers, and I kind of had to tilt my head. But we had these 2 ladies come in who were actually samba dancers, and they actually were doing the dance, and we were following along, which was pretty cool. So I really enjoyed learning about the carnival and doing some samba dancing. Now, I gotta talk about the food. If you ever go to Rio, I'm gonna tell y'all have to have their white rice. Every restaurant we went to, the white rice tasted the same. There have been many restaurants I've gone to in the States where, let's say I have chicken. The chicken isn't going to taste the exact same, or it might be yams. The yams aren't going to taste the exact same, but it was consistent. It did not matter what restaurant we went to. The white rice was the exact same. And we went to a lot of buffet restaurants. So in their buffet restaurants, you have kilo. So kilo is where you get all that you want and you weigh your food. And based off how much your food weighs determines how much the food costs. Now, our tour guide said you aren't supposed to go back up there because every time you would go back up there, you would have to pay. But it's not a thing you couldn't. It's just who wants to pay every time they go up there. I would rather pay once, but they took care of that because all of that was included. So I really enjoyed the food. Some of the things I ate were fries, which were really good. I had grilled chicken, mashed potatoes. The mashed potatoes were the bomb.com. If you ever go to, I think the restaurant's called Panezos, get their mashed potatoes because they're really good. I had a lot of things, steak, so many things to name. It's a lot of food that I had, but definitely come to Rio if y'all ever get the chance. So when I come back, I'm going to tell y'all about some things I learned in Rio. And yeah, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all have enjoyed the show so far. I really just want to share a couple of things I learned while in Brazil. The first thing was to be open to new experiences. So me being someone that can sometimes tend to be in their comfort zone, I'll be honest with you all, it really helped me to do different things like wall climbing. Tree walking was something I had never done. If you had told me a couple years ago, like, hey, Isaiah, we're doing this, I probably would not have done that. But going to an unfamiliar environment helped me to do some unfamiliar things. So whatever you do in life, be open to do new things because you never know. It might become an interest of yours. And the second thing I learned was know the language before you actually go to someplace, because a lot of times I had to ask my tour guides, Deborah and Israel, can you translate this for me? Can you help me out with what they're saying? Or I would have them speak in Portuguese to the person so that they can be able to communicate what I was trying to communicate to those people. So those were some things I learned in Brazil. I definitely want to go back. Would y'all ever go to Brazil? Okay. But thank you all so much for tuning into the show. I appreciate you all watching again. I'm your host, Isaiah Smith. Until next time, stay insightful.